influencer marketing is dead, okay? At least the old way of doing it. There is a new way of doing influencer marketing which is blowing up businesses and it's sweeping the advertising world. It's working in all sorts of industries, beauty, real estate. It's definitely going to be working in fitness. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can utilize this new influencer marketing strategy to help grow your fitness business, whether you're a gym owner, fitness facility owner, an online coach, whatever, it's going to work for you. And here I'm going to break down the steps that you need to take to make sure that you're making the most of this opportunity in 2025. This is how to use influencers in 2025 to grow your fitness business. So I'm going to jump in what used to be the old tactic, and then I'm going to go through what the new tactics are. So this is the old way. You pay for an influencer to make a post, maybe a story, they do a video, you would maybe even send them a video for them to post. They post it, and that post then gets buried within 72 hours. Okay, the algorithm just pushes it to the bottom. By the time it's 3-4 days old, it's old content, and people aren't really that interested. So what are the downsides of this? Well, it can be very expensive, particularly if we're thinking about the types of influencers we're using and the reach that they have. They can charge a pretty penny for just a single post. You have no ownership over this, okay? This is influencers' content. They've made it, they own it, and they've been paid for it. And also the shelf life of the ad is very limited. So like I said, after a few days, this piece of content just gets buried, and you now don't really have a piece of content that's working for you after 3 or 4 days, even though you've maybe spent hundreds, if not thousands of pounds on this piece of content to be made for you. So what does the new way do, and how is it different to the old way? So the new way is you pay for a content creator to create a video that you then have ownership of and that you can push through your channels as long as you like. So how do we do this? Which is a very good question. And I'll break this down into steps and things that we need to consider if we're actually trying to do this effectively. So number one, and this is the number one key, is finding the right influencer. So the most important part of making sure that this is making sure that the influencer relates to your gym, your fitness facility, or your training services. So if you run a yoga studio, we're not going to be going to bodybuilder influencers to create an ad. So like I say, that's a good example. If we're a yoga studio and now I don't know, I've never done yoga before, but I'm assuming that the majority of people that go to a yoga studio are going to be women. It's going to be a female demographic mainly. So then if we're going to a bodybuilder who's talking about squatting silly amounts of weight and, you know, training like a bodybuilder is not going to resonate to the people that are going to a yoga studio. So hopefully this is obvious to you, but you need to ensure that the influencers that you are using relate heavily to the service that you are trying to advertise. And some key points is followers don't always mean everything. So I think that you are far better at going to find an influencer who's got 5 to 10,000 followers, but is highly specific type of influencer. The types of training that they do on a daily basis is exactly the types of training or the types of exercise or the types of service that you sell. You're far more better off going to that influencer with 5 to 10,000 followers than going to the influencer with 250,000 followers or 500,000 followers, paying them for this service, probably paying more, and also tapping into an audience which isn't red hot. Finding micro influencers, anything below about 50,000 followers, who are highly specific to your niche, which means the people that follow them are going to be your perfect ideal customers. These are the types of influencers that we want to be using. Okay, so followers do not mean anything. Followers do not mean everything. Of course, these people need a following. That's the whole point of influencer marketing. You're essentially renting the audience that they have already built up. But you need to make sure that we're really considering the type of audiences that these influencers have built up. Okay, and ensuring that those audiences relate heavily to our service. Number two, obviously, once we have selected an influencer, we need to get in touch with them. So once you've found the perfect influencer, manually reach out. This is going to be the best way to do it. If we can manually reach out and we can get to these people, that's going to be ideal, particularly if we're dealing with micro influencers. These people aren't going to have their DMs bombarded with promotional stuff all the time. Sure, they're going to have a few bits. There's going to be a bit of noise that we need to make sure that we're competing against. But if we're essentially just trying to say to them, look, I want to pay you money, then eventually, after being persistent and following up 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 times, we will hopefully eventually get through to this person. But one thing we do need to consider is the bigger the influencer, the harder it's going to be to get through to them. So if manual reach out doesn't work, then there are also influencer websites or agencies that provide this service. So they will have a catalog of influencers that they have under contract that you can then easily contact the website owner or contact the agency, ask them for XYZ influencer, and they will give you a price and so on. And that's going to be a lot easier, but you are going to be paying a premium because these websites and agencies need to take a cut. So it's up to you whether you want to take the hard route and then maybe save a bit of money, or just go the easy route and maybe pay a little premium, but you also get ease of use. You need to make a decision what's going to work best for you. So the third thing that's going to be extremely important is scripting the influencer video. So there's essential elements that we need to ensure that we're including in this script, and they are as follows. A product description section. So this doesn't have to be in a massive amount of detail. We don't want to bore the reader by just describing things, but just a little bit of context so we actually know what we're talking about is going to be good to start off with. Then we're going to highlight the key benefits. We're going to talk about the problems that you are solving. So if you're a service, what problems are you actually trying to solve for your customers? We're then going to sprinkle in some social proof so we can allow people who are viewing the video to trust us, and then a very clear call to action. So based off the agreement with the influencer, you could create up to 5 different scripts for them to read. So obviously we know that not always do we create an ad, we upload it, push it through some sort of paid advertising channel, and it absolutely hits and it starts crushing cash for us. We need to go through the process of testing, optimizing, and understanding what type of messaging and what type of content is going to resonate with the audience that we're trying to get in contact with. So by having more than one video of this influencer, we're allowing more opportunities to find a highly optimized video. So depending on the agreement that you have with the influencer, they could create up to 5 different videos, different changes in terms of the hook. So the most important part of any video, the whole video is of course important, but there's no point spending money on an ad if the first few seconds of the video or the hook is bad, because that's the thing that's going to stop them from scrolling. That's the thing that's actually going to allow us to then explain what it is that we're paying for, or explain the thing that we're advertising. If we can't just get people to stop scrolling, then our ads are never going to be effective. So if there's one thing that you're going to change about your script when you're doing all of the 5 different versions of that script, it's the first 5 to 15 words. Okay, those first 2 to 4 seconds of that video are the most important, and if we can test different variations of that, then we can start to understand what type of language and what type of hooks resonate best with our audience. Of course, the influencer themselves, particularly if they're well known, is going to be a scroll stopper in themselves. You know, if people already know them, they have a relationship with them, they enjoy their content, they follow them, just seeing their face is a good visual hook. So that's an immediate visual that interrupts patterns that they can then that allows them to then just stop because they're interested inherently by what this person has to say because they follow them. But then if we can also tie that visual hook well in with a audio hook, i.e. what they say, then that can create a really, really effective ad. So this is something that we need to consider. Number 4, legal considerations. Okay, so make sure that you have these things in order before moving forward. So we need to make sure that the content ownership agreements are all in line and we're happy, and they know and you know that once they create this content and send it to you, that you then have ownership, so that you can push it through your paid channels for months and years to come if it's working in a year's time. So that needs to be extremely clear. So clear terms and conditions, usage rights and durations, and payment structures. Okay, so these are fairly basic things. I'm not going to bore you with the ins and outs of that, but these are definitely things to get in line before we go forward, because some influencers may take the money without really reading into what they're actually signing up for, and they may later on down the line have a problem with you repurposing their content for your business growth, and they're not really seeing any profit share or return on ad spend. But you need to make it clear to them that you are paying them a fixed fee for the content and they have no further involvement beyond that, and you can repurpose that content as much as you want because you own it. It's not theirs anymore. So that needs to be really clear. Number 5, make it real. So if you're a gym, or if you have a gym or you have a facility and you want to use this strategy, creating a video with them in your physical location is going to be 100 times more effective than just recording it in their kitchen. So if you send someone a script, an influencer a script, and they just set up a tripod in their lounge, and they sit on a chair and just read the script, that's going to be far less effective than if they are walking around your gym, they've got someone following them with a camera, they're holding a mic, and they're talking about the gym, the people you serve, the problems you solve, the benefits that you give your customers, all the social proof that you have. Maybe they walk past a wall and there's all your customer wins and all your customer before and afters on the wall. You know, there's so many different ways where you can tie in these different elements, where you highlight the benefits without really having to explain it explicitly, or show the social proof without you having to explain it explicitly. If they're walking through and there's a class going on and there's 30 members in the class, those are 30 extra people that trust you and are paying you money, and that's going to signal to a viewer that you are busy, people are trusting you, people are paying you money, and you're helping them get the results that you're saying you are, that you can help them get. You know what I mean? So it's going to be so much more effective for you to actually get them to come to your facility. So if this does mean that you need to give them extra incentives, like more money or additional freebies, again, this is going to depend on the size of the influencer. The bigger they are and the more reach they have, the more expensive these things are going to be. But if you're thinking like, oh, well, they want an extra £500 for them to just come for an hour to my gym and record it at my gym, that's going to be money well spent, because the effectiveness of that ad is going to be far more, and the return on that ad is going to clear that £500 no problem. Okay, obviously we need to make sensible decisions. If it's a lot of money and we're thinking about how much actual return on the ad spend we're going to be able to get, we need to ensure that we're making this profitable. But yeah, if that's what it's going to take to get the influencers to come to us so we can film within the physical location that we're advertising, that's going to be a lot more effective. 6, distribution considerations. So we need to understand the platforms that we will use to advertise this, okay? And then we need to ensure that the scripting and the production is designed to be best suited to that platform. So essentially the main consideration here is it long form or short form? So are we filming YouTube ads, or are we filming Meta ads or TikTok ads? Okay, so if we're filming YouTube ads, we need to be thinking about, are we holding the camera landscape? Are we maybe making the ad over a minute? But if we're doing more short form, are we holding the camera, vertically? Portrait. Are we holding the camera portrait? Are we making the scripts shorter so that they're punchier and they get to the point far quicker? You know, these are things that we need to consider, and these are very important. It might even be that you have 2 separate ads, one for long form and one for short form, if you're utilizing both YouTube ads and Meta ads or TikTok ads. So those are the main considerations that we need to think about before we really start rolling out this influencer marketing strategy. Now, there are some common mistakes that we all need to avoid with, you know, any sort of marketing process. So these are the mistakes that you want to stay clear of. So firstly, not being clear about ownership. Like I've mentioned before, we need to make it very clear to the influencer that we own this content. We are paying them for the ownership of this content, and we can use it whenever we want. We're making sure that we're not choosing the wrong influencer. Okay, this is massive. We are renting their audience, and we need to make sure that the audience that we are renting is red hot leads and not just something that's sort of in the same industry. So like the example, if we're a yoga studio, we're not asking a bodybuilder influencer to do this ad. We're asking other yoga influencers. Okay, this is extremely important. And okay, we need to think about what the influencer is, but we need to take it a step further and not focus so much on the influencer, but focus on the type of people that are going to be following that kind of influencer, because that's who we're trying to tap into. That's who we're paying for. That's the audience that we're trying to monetize. So take it a step further. Don't just think about what kind of content the influencer makes. Think about what type of people would watch that content. And then from there, you can make the right decision on the influencer that you want to employ for this. Poor script guidelines. Make sure the scripts are clear. Make sure that you give them a very, very structured approach to the script, how you want it delivered, not just words, but maybe if you want to give production tips, whereabouts they'd want them to be. Of course, if we're doing this in person and you're there with them, then this can be, have a lot of control over this. But if you're selling digital products and you're in the fitness industry, or you're selling ebooks or training plans or nutrition plans, whatever it may be, and you're asking for a review of that, make sure that you're telling them exactly how you want this script to be read. What also might be a good idea is actually you reading the script and creating the ad how you would want it, and then just ask them to replicate it. So there's no room for mistake and there's no miscommunication there. Number 4, inadequate legal protection. We went through the legal protection that you need to do this and make it work properly so you don't have any sort of funny business in the future. And then 5, weak distribution strategy. So of course this is going to work and it will work effectively, but you need to have it. These influencer ads that you are creating and paying for, they need to have strong foundations. So if they're not going into a well set up ad campaign, then they're not going to perform anywhere near as effectively as they could. So make sure that you've got your foundations built out strong and you understand what goes into building out a strong meta ad campaign. Hopefully you've already been doing meta ad campaigns, so your ad account has learnt you, your audience, the sort of people that are going to convert easily, and then this influencer ad that you've created using this method is just going to throw petrol on the fire and make people more engaged because they see this person that they follow engaging in your using your service, engaging with your gym. They're there, and that's just going to make them want to be there more. That's the goal here. Okay, so hopefully you can see now why the old method of influencer marketing has died a death, and this is the new version of influencer marketing. It can be very effective. Now, I've gone through the key points there. The main thing that we need to ensure that we are doing is picking the right influencer. Okay. Now, a lot of these influencers that don't have a lot of followers, this won't actually cost a lot of money, because unless they've got some really lucrative brand deals, they're probably not making a load of money, even though they have a lot of followers. So this might not even cost you a lot, £500, £600, £700, but you could easily make that back provided you've picked the right influencer for your business. So keep that in mind, make sure you make the right decisions, and this could be a seriously lucrative endeavor for you, because influencers that are micro influencers aren't going to be that expensive. However, they have a strong reach, and if you've got a nice high ticket service like an online coaching thing or a 6-week challenge or a 16-week challenge or whatever that you're trying to advertise through it, the return on ad spend here could be really, really good, and that's taking into account the cost of getting the ad created by the influencer. Now, if you're watching this and you're in the fitness industry and you're trying to grow your business, then that's great. You're in the right place. There's plenty of value on this channel to help you grow your business in terms of sales and marketing. If you're looking for a more proven, structured approach to solving your customer acquisition problem, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave a link in the description, which is going to take you to our landing page. On that page, you'll see a video of me explaining how we might be able to help your business out and solve this customer acquisition problem that you have. So if that's you and you're watching this and you want a more hands-on approach to solving this problem, click the link. It's a sales funnel. It's designed to get you to book a call, just so we're clear. But that's for a small percentage of you where it's going to be useful and relate to your business. For the few of you that have watched this, got value, but you're not interested in further support, hopefully you found this useful and you implement the teachings of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.